Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Pivot in Progress episode on landing top finance roles in a competitive job market. Before I proceed any further, I just want to caveat I have a slightly bad throat today, so I hope you'll excuse me. But what we can make up for it through is the fact that we have a very talented, very experienced, and brilliant speaker who is going to share his insights, learnings, experiences with regard to landing the best roles within the field of corporate finance especially. And he is already here with me backstage, so I'll be bringing him on now. All right, so here we go. So Viral, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking time out for this. How are you doing?
I am doing very well, Arjun. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Great. All good apart from the throat, all good. So Viral, what we can do is maybe we can just start with a quick round of intros. I can go first. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Arjun and I'm the founder of Pivot. We started Pivot with one mission, which was to help everybody achieve the most ambitious career goals that they have set up for themselves. And in regard to that, anytime a person is going through a transition, whether it's changing your domain, your industry, perhaps you want to stay within the same industry but just target a more senior or a better role. So all of these different type of transitions are where we support ambitious professionals, and we'll talk a little bit more about what exactly Pivot does through the course of this conversation. But I would turn it over now to Viral. Viral, welcome again, and if you could just share a little bit about yourself with regard to your career journey and what you exactly do today.
Thanks, Arjun. So my name is Viral. I have almost 25 years of experience as a finance professional. I am a qualified chartered accountant. My experience spans across. I started with healthcare and hospitals. Then major part of my career is banking, financial services, working with local banks like IDBI, Yes Bank, and then I moved to a few global banks like Barclays, Standard Chartered, and ABN AMRO. For the last 6 years, I'm working with an energy company called Shell, and my experience is across FP&A controls, strategy, and everything. So it has been an amazing experience, right from Mumbai to London to Chennai now, and I get to get these kind of exposure to a lot of other finance professionals and a lot of changes in that way as well. So I'm really looking forward to share my thoughts and also learn from this session in the interim, Arjun.
Thank you for sharing that, Viral. So, obviously, I mean, you have a lot of years of experience behind you, Viral. I'm sure you've seen the cyclicality of different industries, how things have been up and down. Obviously, over the last 3 4 years, what we have observed is a couple of major trends that are impacting finance as one of the functions, and finance as specifically the function which is being impacted, right? So, for
Yeah,
example, I mean, one of the things that everybody has been seeing is the impact of AI and rapid advancement in technology. You obviously in your title also it says that you do focus on information and digital technology (IDT) at
yeah,
Shell. So that's something I understand perhaps is impacting finance function for you as well, and the responsibilities that you have towards your company. So, what I want to start this conversation with is at a high level, what are the big macro changes you are seeing, not just from AI and automation, but so much, the global uncertainty and the layoffs that are all happening. Um, how is it impacting the field of finance, and especially not just the work that is happening in finance, but how people in finance are navigating through these changes from a career perspective?
yeah. So the change is massive, by the way. My voice is echoing, but I think it's okay now. Okay. So the change is massive, and this has not started immediately, and there is a bit of a journey. So if we look back 15, 20, 25 years back, people were very much contented in terms of the ERPs, which are now more or less outdated, spreadsheets, and the basic PowerPoint presentations. From there, we have moved to a lot more digitalization. And before coming to AI, there has been a bit of a journey where teams have worked on certain smart automations. They've also worked on data science related basic transformation, and also transformation which were more on visuals in finance. And then there's a lot around how do you look at a process from an outcome perspective rather than from that input perspective. So a lot has changed in that regard. And what I see in the recent last 2 3 years of experience is the change is accelerating a lot manifold rather than being slow. So yes, job losses are very much there, but then I also believe that it's more about the entire pressures which are geopolitical plus a combination of AI as well. So I wouldn't say that all the job losses or all the risks or all the tensions in our industry are because of AI, but it's a mix of many factors there. And just to answer your question very specifically around how do you see people navigating around this piece, I see two or three different sets of people there. One set of people are embracing change, and they are really getting along in terms of the learning journey as to how do we change and how do we look at learning new skills. Then there is a set of people who are very much oblivious to change, and they it's very difficult for them to accept change. And this is an area where people are struggling. And then there is a third one where they're actually stepping out of their comfort zone completely. And what they are doing is they are saying, okay, whatever I was doing business as usual, I will not do that. I will do completely different. So that's a very extreme lot which is taking risks. So people are trying to navigate through that. Some are successful,
Mm.
some are not successful. Somewhere they are in the middle as well.
That's interesting. And do you see within these three different segments of people? Do you see that one segment has outperformed the others? Is there sort of some pattern evolving where you're seeing, okay, this is how you should form mental models of navigating all the change that's coming in finance?
Yeah. So if I put myself into the shoes of people who are attending this call or people who are in the mid careers, it is actually a tough job. And the reason I say that is because it is like changing the tires of a running car, because I have to keep the operations on, whatever finance related work, whatever CFO related work I'm doing, it has to be kept on. The compliances have to be on, the financial reporting has to be on, plus at the same time I have to work on transformation. So first of all, it is
Mhm.
very important to appreciate the fact that this is not easy, and that's a good starting point. And then what we need to do is we need to really start thinking about how do I carve my time out to create 5%, 10%, 20% of my time to focus on transformation or learning whilst I keep the car running. So that is a very important aspect, and it's not easy, and people need help there, Arjun, in my opinion.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting point. How do you think people are juggling these tasks, right? So actually, I wrote a little bit about this session that we are doing today in my LinkedIn post. And one of the things that I did mention as part of that was the expectation from finance professionals has amplified a little compared to, let's say, 5 years ago. Like you just said, right? You're building the tires or putting the tires while the keeping the car running. And it's sort of a superhuman thing to ask of any human to be able to do that. How are people doing it? Can you share maybe one example where you have seen this multitasking effort playing out really well, or perhaps where it hasn't really played out well, but there are significant learnings from it?
Yeah, I love this question because I think we are now getting to the practical and pragmatic aspects. So we are moving from theory to practicals. So let me give a few examples. So every organization has been going through a change in some shape or form, and we as finance professionals are a part of change. Either we are leading that, or we are a part of that team, or we are advising on the change. So as an example, if you are going through a change through your organizational setup, it is first of all important to understand why are we changing and what is changing, and what does that mean, and then try to have a stakeholder relationship in that entire change where you understand what is your contribution to that particular change, and have a learner mindset there, because you do not know everything, but at the same time the group which has been brought together, everyone is contributing to that. So first of all, have that contractual thinking in terms of what am I contributing to that project, what as an SME, and what am I learning. And then please make that extra effort of trying to go beyond your area of interest to understand the end to end of why and what is happening, and also understand externally what are other organizations doing, why are they doing, and also try to learn. For example, if there is SAP for SAP for HANA implementation happening. Try and understand why is it even happening. Why, when will that earlier module get offloaded? Why are we doing that? What are other organizations doing it? What is market standard? What is the cost benefit analysis of that? And that really helps you to understand more and think 3, 4, 5 years down the line rather than in the moment, Arjun. So that is my advice to the people.
Got it. So kind of thinking ahead of the curve a little bit to anticipate what changes might be coming and proactively preparing for that. Um, has there been any example also, Viral, which you can talk about where things have been, let's say, from the organizational standpoint, rolled out too quickly because there's so much change happening? We've also seen some downside where change fatigue has caused, let's say, declining employee morale or things breaking, where technology was rolled out but it didn't perform as expected.
Yeah.
Are there some common pitfalls of too much change that you have seen? Or do you think like it's just something that you have to adapt and evolve in the current times?
Yeah, this is a very real example where uh, to start with, what really matters for me is the organizational risk appetite. So every organization has a different risk appetite. Some are complex, some are lean, some are a startup. So the ability to fail fast is very different for different organizations. So you have to start with that cultural mindset that is your organization ready to fail fast, or is your organization absolutely conservative that they want things perfectly, so the transformation will be perfect. So when you look at these two bookends, I'm hoping that most of them will fall somewhere in the middle, where there is an appetite to fail fast, but then uh, how much is a bit of a question mark. So in order to look at how projects fail, what generally happens is if there are 6 or 7 important stakeholders who come together to deliver certain transformation, and if everybody looks at looks at the current process and is absolutely emotional about the current process, then change fails generally. What you really need is you need at least 20% of these individuals to be as catalysts who can shake up things a little bit, challenge status quo, and focus on the outcome versus what is happening today. And that really helps, in my opinion. Projects generally fail because people have resistance to change. They do not have confidence in the new transformation change, or they have a risk appetite which is so very low that they do not want to take any risks. These are some of the practical examples which I've seen. But at the same time, if you flip it around, and if there is top management mandate which says that we have to do this, in that case, everybody rallies behind the change. And even if there is a fail fast situation, they try to turn it around through the top management. So you really need that sponsorship, that sounding board, which will keep on highlighting what is going well, what is not going well. So it's a combination of everything. But in my experience, a few catalysts, at least 20% catalysts help, which bring outside in perspective to drive that change, Arjun.
Got it. All right. I think that's helpful to understand, at least at a foundational level, kind of how are these change factors leading to organizational, change as well as individual level change. So I think that helps. Switching gears a little bit, Viral, what I want to now deep dive in is sort of the skill portfolio that you foresee becoming more important for finance professionals. Obviously, it's probably not going to be a one size fit all kind of a thing. Like it can vary depending on your specific role within finance. But perhaps what we can do is think about it a little broadly at this stage, where we are considering mid-career professionals because that's our core community and core audience. So folks with, let's say, somewhere between 7 8 years experience to somewhere around 20 years of experience, right? Now people who are in this stage of their career and are looking at how there are so many layoffs happening, how AI is impacting the day to day, how other, the tools that are typically used in finance also are undergoing a change, going from B2B SaaS to more like a AI
Yeah.
native software, right? And plus organizational ambition also increasing rapidly as companies are competing much more fiercely with each other. So given all of this that's taking place, what are the skills that are becoming most important, apart from, like, I know, be more adaptable, evolve with times. I think those are all great points, but specifically if you deep dive to finance specific skills or certain other behavioral skills, what are you seeing
Yeah,
that is becoming more important?
yeah, absolutely. So uh, this is an area where what I have realized is that 20 years back, you take a qualification, any finance qualification, be it SEMA or ACCA or Chartered Accountancy or MBA Finance. Generally, the learning used to stop at that point of time unless you want to go really, really technical. But what I have noticed in these recent last 5 years is a few core skills have become very important. So, for example, if you are into FP&A, is your do you have core skill around financial analysis, modeling, and outside Excel? Obviously, how are you using some of the data science related stuff? How are you using AI for financial analysis, modeling? How are you using visualization? So, visualization has been a huge amount of change. So just to give you an example, when I was working in an earlier organization where we were responsible for financial planning for the group, we transformed the entire reporting suite from an Excel or a PowerPoint, manual PowerPoint, to Tableau, and this was done in less than 5 days time, and it was much appreciated by this board. And this board, this is a 50-60 billion dollar company. So these kind of skills really help, and there are very few IT professionals who have finance knowledge who can deliver this. So what we did is we looked at it the other way around, where some of the finance professionals, they took some of our Tableau skills and they delivered that because it is easier for them rather than the other way around. So this is a skill which I would really advocate for people who are looking at financial planning analysis. And then for technical skills and accounting and reporting, IFRS remains important. The US gap and Indian gaps, they are absolutely important. SAP related skills are very important. So there are courses which are available either through SAP or through other ERPs. Please focus on that. Digital skills we spoke about, and then there is something around digital twins. There is something around anomaly detection. If you are able to use that in your day-to-day operations, please do that. Then there are skills around risk management, like COSO, COSO, ISO 31000, which are really important, available again in some of the courses. Taxation, if you keep updating yourself with the taxation, that is important. But then what I really focus around the softer skills and somewhere in the middle is project management, because as a finance professional, we are really good in the technical skills, but then we start struggling in the project management skills. So it is important if you pick up certain project management skills and agility around that, that really helps. The softer side of the skills is how are you able to build strategic partnerships, and how are you able to story tell, because you can crack data, you can analyze data, you can do risk management, but how are you able to tell a story which your stakeholders who are non-finance professionals can understand? So this is a non-negotiable skill from my perspective. And how do you build that strategic partnership and diplomacy in trying to drive the change? So these are some of the high level skills which I can think about, Arjun.
Got it. No, that's very helpful. I think the structure you use to kind of connect the dots between the function, the specific sub-function of finance, and the associated skill that is needed, I think that's very helpful. I think, is there any other function, like, would you have any thoughts on, like, people who are in, let's say, M&A, or fundraising, treasury, any of these? I mean, these might be seen as less common roles compared to, let's say, accounting and FP&A, but is there anything specific there? If not, that's also okay.
No, it is important, and when I talk about some of the scenario modeling is absolutely important for M&As, because the pace at which the geopolitical situation is changing, including the US tariffs, it is very important for someone who is in the M&A space or in the treasury space to be on top of some of the tools which help them scenario model, because
Yeah.
with the US interest rate changes, with the global central bank changes on interest rates, with the commodity pricing, oil prices, gold prices changing and fluctuating so high, plus the overall tariff situation changing, it is important to have a handle on some of the digital skills which will help you provide certain scenarios. And I can give you a very simple example. Back in 2008, and I can name the bank also. It's been a very long time. When I was working with Barclays, Barclays had decided to leave the retail space or reduce the retail space and focus more on the corporate banking. And when I was a part of that finance team, we used to churn at least 20, 30 models every day to help the CEO and the management decide on what is the best fit for our organization going forward. Now imagine 20 years down the line when you have so many digital tools and AI helping us, it is important to understand how can you deliver that in a click of a button rather than going through massive amount of spreadsheets. So that has changed a lot. And then also from a funding perspective, when you're looking at getting funding, overseas funding, these skills help at the same time, Arjun.
Hmm. Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. I just want to take a pause and let people who have joined us know that we will be definitely taking up questions that you might have for Viral. So please do share them in chat section. We should be discussing a couple of other important things which we frequently get asked at Pivot from finance professionals, but we do want to dive into your individual questions as well. So whenever you're ready, do share it. There are no bad questions. Yeah. Yeah, so just coming back to the conversation here, I think the other thing that we want to discuss a little bit more is a lot of times, I mean, finance is seen as a very critical function, obviously, but it, is also undergoing this sort of reputational or optics change where it is, sometimes seen as like the cost saving center. You basically say no to a lot of, things and projects and experiments and make sure that, we are aligned with the annual operating plan or the budgets, etc. But now that's changing to kind of really drive growth within through financial engineering, but also through like core strategy stuff, right? So making business decisions that ensure a healthy and sustainable growth for the organization.
yeah,
So can we talk a bit more about what can finance professionals, especially the ones who might be transitioning from more like, let's say, IC to managerial or managerial to leadership kind of roles, how can they sort of evolve their mindset from kind of doing IC like individual contributor tasks to more impactful ROI driven responsibilities that they might be assigned as a manager or a leader, where now it's
yeah.
not just about doing what you have been asked but really driving top line and bottom line growth and getting into analyzing different strategic initiatives that should be undertaken.
Yeah. So a few things which can really help is, first of all, you have to start taking a step back. And as I said, the in my example earlier, you have to start creating space for you to grow. And there is a book on uh, what got you here will not get you there. And what it primarily says is that how do you keep evolving that 1% growth as well. So you have to first of all create that 15-20% space for yourself to grow. And in that space, what you need to start doing is you need to take a step back and understand that you are a part of a puzzle, but how does the puzzle look like from the step back that you take. And you start understanding what is the strategy of the organization, plus what are competitors doing, how what are the complexities associated with my industry, why are we doing what we are doing, and the strategy why it is, and why does or why does it fail sometimes, or why does it succeed sometimes. So you have to start asking yourself these high level strategic questions, first of all, to understand your role in the entire organization, and then connecting back, how do you help the organization in their strategy. That is a very important connect. I think what majority of the finance folks are not able to connect is that I am doing a particular task. It can be mundane, it can be important, but how does it connect back to the wider piece of the organization? That is very important start. So that is the first one. The second one, which I really see, is as a professional, are you learning something new every 6 months? So, a very simple exercise is look at your CV every 6 months or every 9 months. And if you think that you have added something new in that 5 to 10 years of experience bucket, it is great. But if you haven't added anything in that particular area of work, then you need to challenge yourself and set a target there. So these are the two important things which I would see. And
Yeah.
then the third piece of advice which I would have is, you have colleagues in the industry who might be doing something similar. Talk to them and exchange ideas. Obviously, not personal, not private, confidential information of your organization, but try and talk to them in terms of what are they doing, what is their industry, doing, and learn from them, share with them, and create that network which you can take along together. Are some of the advice I would give, Arjun.
Yeah, I think completely concur with your last point with regard to connecting with other individuals. In fact, for people who have joined us for the first time, I want to highlight that at Pivot, actually, that's one of our core offerings where we connect you to experienced individuals. We don't have Viral yet on our platform. Hopefully, we will soon, but we do have a lot of finance professionals as well. So in case you are not able to find the right folks within your network, you can also check out platforms like ours to meet new people in the industry and get more diverse perspective outside of your echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing, Viral, that I want to ask with regard to what you said is, when you said like keep updating your skill set every 6 months, look at your resume, see are you adding something relevant and new. How much of that that the upskilling, both the identification of the skills that you need as well as the actual act of learning and strengthening your skill, how much of that should depend on the organization, meaning I work for X organization and I should look for my HR or for my manager to help me learn and grow? Or should it be more autonomous where I am taking control of my own learning and my career goals? Or do you see a blend? I mean, I feel like there has been sort of a change in this regard also over a period of time. So that's one of the reasons I'm asking about this
Yeah,
question.
I'm going to make a very brutal statement, which some of you may not like. So, job is temporary, but career is permanent. That's a harsh reality. So, if you expect your line manager or your organization to have you majority of their stake in your development, then it might be misleading. I know there are a lot of organizations, there are a lot of line managers who help you, mentor you, and I have come across a lot of them. So great if you have that, but then you have to you own your own. You are the you own your career basically, right? So how do you on an autonomous basis invest in your career is very important. I'm not saying you get completely disjoined with how your organization wants you to grow. Please focus on that, and every organization has a performance cycle where you get feedback, you focus on the feedback and learn from that feedback, but at the same time, you know where you want to go 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. So you have to also set your own career path and learn either internally or externally. So it's a mix and match, but I wouldn't rely heavily on the organization I would work with, because as I said, your job is temporary and your career is permanent. And then at the same time, if you're looking at your career as a marathon, you have to really decide upon your sprints. You have to decide upon where you take that break, where you replenish yourself, and organization goes through that journey with you. But then if you heavily rely on organization, the risk which you generally take is you lose organizational external perspective. And this is where you get into comfort zone, and comfort zone is not good for your careers.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I like that statement a lot. And I think it's just very true, right? Like the fact that, job is temporary, career is permanent. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, I also want to now switch gears a little again in terms of really focusing on the key topic that a lot of professionals come to us for our help, which is when they are moving from one organization to another, meaning they are going through some sort of a career transition themselves. It could just be vying for a better culture or a better role, better fitment, but oftentimes it's also going from, like I said, IC to manager to leadership roles, or perhaps changing the industry. So a lot of people, let's say, want to shift from non-tech industry to tech industry because they're seeing tech as the having the most positive future prospects in terms of how much it's leading the charge on several things. So With regard to these type of transitions, Viral, what are your thoughts? I mean, as a hiring manager, I'm sure you've seen a lot of applications come through. What are some of the best applications that you have seen which they do well compared to other candidates? So if you can share maybe, two or three things which you have helped you figure out that, okay, this candidate is definitely going to be better than the average pool of candidates. What are those things that these folks are doing?
Yeah, so it is really important to highlight the transferability of skills. So whatever experience you have, and this grows. I'm not saying that if you have 5 years of experience, you have everything, and you, as I said, you keep adding every 6 months something new. So when I look at a profile, what stands out for me is what are the transferable skills which that individual has acquired. And those transferable skills, as I said earlier, can be storytelling, can be looking at a bigger picture, a few achievement examples which would help me initiate the first conversation that, okay, let me try and understand more. Because there are two parts of a hiring process. The first part is where the CV really drives whether you want to meet that candidate or not. So that is the most important piece, where you focus on the transferable skills and how relevant are they for the role. So that is the first hook for me. And then when I have those conversations with some of the candidates, and this is not standard for everyone. Arjun, you might have a different approach. I might have a different approach, but I hire for motivation and ability for someone to learn a skill. So if I'm looking at a role which has got 10 core skills, out of which somebody ticks five or six, but has the motivation to learn the rest of them, I think that's brilliant for me. So it's a mix of what are the transferable skills you come with, what is the learning curve you can look at in the next 6 months time, and then how much risk can you take in your career. So these are some of the parameters which I would look at.
How do you assess on these parameters? Like when you are actually going through an application, um, some people could just write about certain skills, write about certain experiences, but others then really help you. They come out of the page and they really demonstrate what they have done in a more palpable manner. So like at least we have seen that a lot of times, people just kind of noting down their responsibilities
Mm.
versus showing tangible impact that they have created. So, how do you assess the difference between, let's say, somebody just telling that they have done something versus showcasing to you?
Yeah, so that is where the interview comes into picture, right? And majority of the MNCs, or we're talking about the large organizations, they have 2 or 3 different rounds of interviews where we really go through that grilling. And these interviews are all practical interviews. They are not very much around the highlighting your CV. It's more about asking pragmatic questions, asking situation-based questions. And what we generally do is during that situation-based interviews, it it these things surface. That if someone says that we delivered this, we delivered that, I would hold them and say, you know what, let's take a pause. What was your particular role in this piece of work, and how did you deliver that? What were some of the challenges you faced? And then once you start diving deeper, uh, if the answers are satisfactory and if they make sense to me, I would really proceed for that particular candidate. But then, with more and more experience, you try to understand whether that is bluff or that is a real delivery that they're talking about. Arjun.
Got it. One more thing that I wanted to ask Viral before we take up some of the questions that are coming in from the audience. Is because the job market is extremely crowded, as you probably know. I mean, given the layoffs and people just more frequently searching for jobs than before. Earlier, if there were like 100 200 applicants, today there are 400 500 applicants for a role on average. So it's you could have a good profile, you could have a good resume, you could even have some person who inside the organization, but today it's not always enough to land the opportunity or even an interview.
Mm.
um, are there any things that you have seen people are doing to go above and beyond in their application? So one of the things, for example, we have seen is like sometimes people are reaching out to the hiring team or the hiring manager, and they're not just saying, hey, here's my resume, hire me. They are also sort of pitching their potential by showcasing maybe like a small modeling or some analysis that they might have done based on researching the company's current objectives. Now, a lot of times, when we talk about this, people say, oh, this is too much. I'm applying to 100 jobs, I can't do this for every single job. And that might be that might be true. But have you, I mean, this is just an example, have you seen something like this, where you feel like, okay, these people are way more committed, more serious, going above and beyond in their uh, outreach to the organization?
Yeah, so see, there are a few things which are important when you are in a career, right? So how are you showcasing your work? That is very important. So if you are doing business as usual, unfortunately, see, the hard reality of a finance role is, if you are doing your job right, nobody really cares about it. And if there is something which breaks down, then hell breaks on you. So we are already in a very difficult industry.
Yeah, it's a
Now,
heads you win, tail I lose, huh?
yes, absolutely. So what doesn't help is that particular aspect. But then, as a professional, what you should consciously do is, how are you showcasing the work which you're doing, and how are you demonstrating the use cases? So, for example, LinkedIn is a great platform to share what you're doing. And again, I want to caveat that please do not share anything confidential. But then there are generalizing. How are you driving some of the transformation or some great work which you're doing? Uh, it helps, and it also helps when you put it on your CV, that if you say that I was able to transform the digitalization of a particular visual dashboard, which helped drive certain decisions, reduce cost by XYZ, plus reduce the people who are working on it, then it really helps the hiring manager to ask you questions about that, and then you can showcase what you've done that. So ability to showcase what you're doing, bring forward the use cases, and also trying to generalize that in terms of, okay, that I have done A, B, C, but this can be done then in X, Y, Z. It really helps, and this is where external perspective, outside in helps, Arjun.
Got it. All right, great. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. Let's take a couple of questions that we have gotten from our
Let's do that.
audience here. So one of the question is from someone who is in his early career, and it's more in regard with how folks in their early career can make sure that they're indispensable. I think, there's a saying, I don't, I think it's attributed to GB Shaw, that says the graveyard is full of indispensable men. um, Essentially everybody is dispensable, but I mean, this is a very pertinent question because today you're seeing so many folks being laid off regardless of their performance, regardless of their impact. And especially early career professionals are feeling a little more at risk because they have not been able to create the same level of impact that a mid-career professional
Yeah.
has the ability to. So they are more dispensable. Especially in India market, we have seen companies, even like large companies, well-known companies, withdrawing offers to early career professionals, just 30-60 days after joining. So yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on this question. It would be helpful.
Yeah. So see, in my thought process is, everyone is dispensable. Tomorrow, if someone says you don't have, you're not required in the organization, nothing changes, honestly. So please start with that thought process that I am dispensable. In fact, I would look at it the other way around. If you're working on something in a particular role, the more you are able to make yourself dispensable and do something better, the more you grow. So that's how I see it. And then, to answer your specific questions, if you have the ability to take risks in the first 10 years of your career, you have a much smoother marathon, a longer career, is what I have looked around. When I compare peers, when I look at the industry, if you and please don't get me wrong, whatever statement I'm going to make, some of you may not like it, but if you spend the first 10 years of your career with one company by not learning a lot, then you are putting your longer term career at risk. That is very important. So try and learn as much as you can in the first 10 years of career, to become a lot more agile, to have a lot more broader market spectrum, and that will really help you in the next 10, 15, 20 years of your career. So if you want to be indispensable from a 30-year career horizon, then take as much risks as you can in the first 10 years of career. learn as much as you can in the first 10 years of your careers, make as much network as you can in the first 10 years of career. That will set the next 20 years a lot more stronger. And I should also say that indispensability of your career also depends upon your mental and physical health. So also focus on that part as you go along in your career. Don't burn yourself out in the first 10 years of your career.
Very valid point. Very valid point. The other question we have, I think, is from Gayatri. Can we pull up this question, please, to the screen because I can't see it for some reason. But the question, Viral, is in regard with basically what can professionals do to showcase their impact more on the strategy, is it like strategy and business oriented outcomes as opposed to just finance division oriented outcomes.
Correct, correct. This is interesting because in my role, what we have also done is every organization have these senior awards, and people nominate a lot of their team members. So I was a part of some of the, I have been a part of these panels, and also I have been a part of the coordination team as well. And at some stage, I have read through 100 nominations for these awards. And the reason I'm bringing this piece into this conversation is because few nominations are uh, very technical in nature, that someone was able to do something technically, and as a result of that it did XYZ. And then some of the nominations are really great, where they focus less on the process, more on the business outcome. And the beauty of these is, how do you elevate yourself 3 4 5 levels up, and then think about connecting back the work with the organization strategy. So the moment you're able to connect that, your articulation changes from a process to an outcome. So, for example, the Tableau or visualization which you spoke about, it can simply say that earlier there were 50 pages of PowerPoint presentation which the board of directors sitting out of a London office were going through. Now there is a Tableau dashboard where they can use their own desktop or their own iPads, and drill through information, take decisions faster, and drive actions faster. So that conversation changes completely if you're able to connect with that strategic impact.
Got it. Yeah, I think that is really one of the most important things that you can do both for your career overall, and I think when you are specifically transitioning from one role to another, I do believe it's a very pertinent skill in different junctures, which takes time to kind of imbibe and to strengthen. So I would pay a lot of heed to what Viral just said. Um, we have another question here, Viral, from Priya. I'll pull it up here.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that the right set of skill topics are picked up so that they can be put to use? Non-usage of skill actually doesn't stay longer. Is there any forum where best practices are shared?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a difficult one, Priya, because you have to really find like-minded people. So I'll give you my example. Uh, just before COVID hit, what I did is I wanted to learn data science. So I enrolled myself into data science course, and I started learning Python and everything associated with that. And I started finding it very interesting, although it was very technical in nature, but we were able to manage it. What I did after that is I wanted to learn a lot more about it, try and put some of the use cases to practice, or create some use cases. So what I did is I reached out to like-minded people who were either in the same industry or in a different industry, and we started putting together a informal forum where although you're non-committal, but you are interested in that piece of work, and we started creating our own projects amongst ourselves, which may not go anywhere, but it helped us learn more. So to answer your question, first of all, you identify what is your learning criteria, either through the organizational feedback or your own interests, where you want you are doing, let's say you are doing financial control today, you want to get into FP&A or business strategy. What are the 3 or 4 gaps you have, and then you start focusing on that, and you create a network of professionals with whom you can practice that. It can be in your organization, it can be outside the organization, it can be with your peers, it can be with your colleagues. You'll have to find that network, and it can be 2 or 3 different networks. It's difficult, but as I said, you own your career, so you'll have to do that yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we have covered all of the key questions for now. Viral, I just have one more question for you, and then I think we should be getting ready to wrap things up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, given that we have covered pretty vast topics, from a breadth and depth standpoint, is there anything that you feel we have not covered, which you would say will be impacting individual careers in finance in the coming times, and people should gear up for it as soon as possible?
I think the fear of the unknown is very important. So at this stage, we are assuming that AI will take a lot away. And I was not a part of the .com change. Obviously, we started a little bit after that.
Yeah.
But what is important is to keep a very open mindset and also learn what's going on, not to get overwhelmed with everything that is going on. Uh, Networking is very important. As I keep saying, networking is an intangible asset which people don't appreciate a lot. So please focus on networking along with whatever work which you are doing, because based on the experience which I have, you cannot pull everything together by your own self. So please make a good positive network around yourself, which will help you learn and also mentor. Get a good mentor for yourself. Get a good coach for yourself in the industry. It can be your line manager, it can be your colleagues. Obviously, line manager cannot be a mentor. They can definitely be a good coach, but try and find a good coach or mentor for yourself when you are in the first uh, your 5 to 10 years of your career. That is the most important sweet spot to focus on. So these are some of the aspects which will really help.
Got it. Viral, actually, we just got one more question. Do you have some more time? Yeah.
Yeah, we have 10 to 15 more minutes. Go on.
Okay, got it. Manjri, can you please pull this question up again? I am not able to view it. I believe it's from Namrata. Okay, I think we have the question now. So, in your experience, what mistakes do candidates make when trying to pivot into tech-enabled or strategic finance functions?
Okay, so tech enabled, I wouldn't know much because I'm more of a finance person, but at the same time, I can try to touch that through the strategic finance function. I think a few mistakes which candidate try to make is they try to when they're answering a particular question, they try to put everything in. It's not good. This is my personal perspective that answering an interview question is like a heist. It's like a successful heist. You need to know when you get in, when you get out. It's very important. The timing is very important. So and it comes with practice. If there is a particular question, and as I said, there are situation based questions. If you know the answer, you need to be mentally prepared in terms of how do you structure your answer, how do you finish the answer, how do you come back, and you through body language understand whether you answered that right or not wrong. So that is the most important piece of advice I would give in terms of making a mistake. Don't talk too much, don't talk too less, breathe easy, and also know when to get in, when to get out of that particular question. Don't get stuck into that question.
I love the analogy given the recent Louvre, heist that took place. But jokes aside, I think that's a very relevant advice. I think, and good way to think about the timing of things. Um, all right, Veeral, I think we are good to go for now. I believe we have covered a lot of questions also from the audience. So just want to take a moment to thank you, especially for making time for this and sharing a lot of very practical pointers. I think you touched upon that in the beginning. Like, we try to not just stay with theory, but really get into actionable insights. So I hope a lot of people who joined us today took actionable insights that they can actually apply. And some of them may not always work out perfectly, which is why, as Viral mentioned earlier, it's important to network. It's important to connect with folks in your industry who might have walked the same path before as you. Learn from experiences outside of your echo chamber. For that, you definitely feel free to reach out to Viral on LinkedIn. I'm sure he also would be happy to connect with you. But at the same time, you can also check out our platform, Pivot. The website link is in my signature here, which is mypivot.work, where we have hundreds of professionals across different fields you can connect with. Um, and I also want to just thank everybody who joined us today and asked a lot of good questions. I hope it brings a lot more clarity and confidence as you embark on your next step in your career journey. Yeah, with that, I think we can wrap this up. And thank you once again, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, Arjun, and thanks everyone for attending this session. Great to be a part of this, and all the best for your career. It's a marathon, remember that.
Great. We are already seeing some positive feedback on this session. So thank you again, Viral.
Thanks.
Really helpful insights. Yeah.